Welcome to the first episode of The Treat Show. I'm your host, Jay Loren. Joining me is OG Tyler in the house.
Yo, 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 in the house. In the house.
How was your Halloween, Tyler?
Good. I didn't really do too much. Just slept.
You must not have kids then.
No kids. Just me.
Just you. Well,
I'm the kid. The kid.
Well, that is incredible. Sounds like a successful weekend then.
Yeah. Went on a little hike.
Ooh, where'd you go hiking?
Boulder.
Dang, good
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah, I went to Pearl Street after.
Ooh, did you check out any of the cool little shops that they have down there?
Did a little walk around, little walksy, and I had some food, but
Have you ever been to this place called Wonder? They have these like pressed juices. They're so good.
Yes, I have actually been there.
Magical place.
Yeah.
Like $40 for a fucking juice though.
Yeah, no, it was a cool spot for sure. No, it was a really, really dope spot.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. I think as our first episode, I would like to go into more of my background and past in the cannabis industry.
Yes, let's do that. Let's see the origins of J Lo.
Ooh. Well, I feel like you might have to take a dab for this, Tyler.
Oh God, it's gonna be that stressful.
You know, it started back in 2008. Is where it all began.
Where are you from? Actually, you can't just start at 2008. You're not. You're. What would that make you like? Too young?
It's the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me.
Yeah.
Well, originally I was born in Arizona, actually, in a pretty big agriculture area. My mom was really into farming and breeding horses. So we had like 50 something horses growing up, and she used to do all of her organic like beds through everything and gardening where we'd use our eggs, and she'd grind them up in a coffee grinder to make the calcium for the garden. And it was we had the goats that, would mow the yard. It was a whole thing. But yeah.
How'd you get to Colorado?
So my dad got promoted at his job in 2000. No, it was actually like 99. I want to say is actually the year that we moved here. And so I was 9 years old. And, you don't have a lot of say at that point in life. But it was the best decision ever is they moved to Monument, Colorado. It's a pretty conservative area.
Nice.
We ended up making our way to like Loveland, I think 3 years after we got here.
Where'd you spend high school?
Actually in Loveland, Colorado for the most part. I remember we had to move to Pennsylvania for a year as a senior or something, but predominantly the Loveland area.
Better question.
Yeah.
When did you start smoking?
Well, what's weird about that is I was such a late bloomer compared to most people I hang out with is I think I started smoking around 18 years old. They had prescribed me like anti-anxiety medicine and like a sleeping aid or something. And honestly, it just made me feel so uncomfortable. And even cannabis and like being around friends and stuff in high school is like, I used to lie and say I was allergic to it, and just was terrified for some reason of smoking. And so I feel like it just, I tried it myself, honestly, for the first time as like more of a medicinal, like alternative. Right. And the person that introduced me to it, Woody, he was a really kind, like organic grower and really delicate with the, kind of the situation, I guess. And I remember smoking Flow for the first time.
Okay. I was going to ask you what strains do you remember it from that point in your life?
Yeah. And I think it was really uncomfortable. Like, and I hate to sound like that, but like, like the first time that you get too high, basically, like, I don't know, I think I got like uncomfortably too high and kind of got like anxious. Like I felt like I had to like leave the room from everybody I was around and was kind of nervous, honestly, to like consume after that. It sounds ridiculous, but I I just kept smoking. Like every time it was around me after that, I was like, God, you see all these like California girls and all these like cool people like smoking weed. And I was like, I want to be a cool girl that like skateboards and smokes weed. They gotta troop through these bad times.
You're like Avril Lavigne, but the stoner version.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, no, I think after it started though, that solid year, I would say I was started rolling blunts pretty quick into it, and then
Straight to the
full
blunts.
blown like addict.
Oh God. Good Lord.
What about you?
You know, I started smoking probably when I was 15, but really didn't. I was in the South, so at that point, you really didn't know what you were getting as far as like strains or anything like that.
Wow.
It was either homegrown that was in the South, or it was something that was flown in from another state, but you didn't even know really where, you know. So it was really tough to put your finger on where it came from, and most of it was like stress, like early life smoking was like seeds, stems, like, you know, it was rare to find really good weed, especially for a decent price. Like you could find really good stuff, but like it was gonna cost you something like, I don't know, like $40 a gram or something like that, something crazy, you know.
Oh my goodness.
But
Especially at those ages, like
oh yeah,
it's like a year of work.
yeah. It wasn't till later when I moved to Colorado, probably 2007, 2008, that I was kind of put on like really like good weed, or like, you know, just weed that was way better than anything I had, you know, seen, you know, medicinal weed, if you would say that, you know.
Wow.
But yeah, no, that kind of drove my love for cannabis, was just seeing such good product, you know. It was wild. I definitely remember smoking like Afgoo.
Ooh.
Definitely was my first time in like 2007 seeing purple weed, because I'd really never seen like real purple weed. Um, you know, it was wild. And then when I would go back to Tennessee after that, then I would start to see like purple weed and things like that. But it was very interesting seeing that, you know.
So you really got to see the market like evolve and spread as well, though. Like,
Yeah, kind of. I mean, and even to think that there were strains like OG Kush, for example, that came from Florida and made its way to California, and then from California went everywhere. You know what I mean? It's wild to see strains just kind of like move around, and I don't know. It's interesting, but yeah. So what was your first gig in the marijuana industry?
you know, in 2009, I helped some friends out. That would probably be the more appropriate way to explain this. Is back in the day when there was the caregiver like providing situation where you actually went into a store and they didn't have grows and you just personally sold them.
Yeah.
You know, um, my friend and her boyfriend had this grow that we would like just take care of and kind of, you know, I hate to say it like this, but at that time, like I hadn't seen these like crazy benefits. I think I was just naive and young, honestly, but and just doing it to make like side hustle cash, you know, like I think working at a restaurant and just like coming in every day to water their plants. And like I remember him like showing you exactly how much to put in the plant and like count your seconds and doing all those things. But it wasn't until 2011 when I got into a situation with headquarters down in Boulder. They're unfortunately no longer in business, but at the time they used to be a really high quality, like connoisseur boutique, and it was medicinal only back then. And I remember just shopping there as a normal customer in the beginning. They were located really close to my house in Lyons, Colorado, and it kind of was just convenience and that they had the best reputation just in that kind of niche. And after I had started buying cannabis there, I started having like a completely different experience. This is weird, but like the anxiety when I would smoke even like the same strains of like say Durban Poison, for instance, because it is, you know, known for this.
Racy.
Yeah, super racy, like that really like 100% dominant kind of sativa side is there was a lot of strains such as that I could smoke all of a sudden that like wouldn't give me that same like anxiety. And like the bud tenders and everybody that was there was just so informative, and you could tell that just on like the display of things, like that they were growing organically and that they really, really cared about their product. I remember being expensive even back then. It was like 400 to 600 an ounce on like the medicinal side. But yeah, it like really made me like value and appreciate cannabis for the first time, is like seeing the effects and the different flavors and strains. Like I remember a couple of like the diesels, like sour diesel and like Death Star and things like that, were like the perfect kind of like, I don't know, effects, I would say. Is like wasn't too much for the first time. And yeah, so I ended up applying as a trimmer and they were paying so good. It was 200 a pound.
Whoa.
Yeah, like compared to the market now, you know, like it was a good little supple tap. And at the time there was no female growers in the cannabis industry. I can name like, you know, Cassandra from Verde. She's like awesome, and she was definitely in the scene back then. Anna, she was with Cam, and she was in the scene back then, but it was such a small niche, and like those women were honestly like exceptional. Like it was unheard of. And I remember asking headquarters for the first time if I could be a head grower or ever apply for that position, and then being like absolutely not. Like, and like girls don't do this job, and like very like go back to your little trim hole. And I feel like I was so determined to get into the grow that I asked the owner like if I could work like 16, 17-hour days, if like you know, it would give me this potential to even become part of the harvest crew or the transplant crew or something like that. And I remember at first he was like, whatever. And then I started like working 7 days a week and like trimming as much as I could trim, to the point that they could downsize that section. And like, it took me finding another trim position and asking them for a head grow position to actually get headquarters to promote me to the head grower. And the second that they found out that I was going to leave to go to this other spot for this opportunity is they promoted me. And I remember being so excited. Like it was like my dream job back then. And like,
did you feel stress on getting such an important job, you know, head grower?
yeah, I remember him like walking me into the grow room for the first time, the two owners, and saying to me specifically, like, look at everything, and like standing there and just being in awe and like us all appreciating it. And then him like giving me this like snarky kind of look and being like, don't fuck it up. This is millions of dollars in this room. Like if you make this mistake, or if this is just, you know, like an ego boost or something like that, he's like, this is not the path you can take.
Right,
And it was weird, but like I worked there honestly for 7 days a week for 3 years, and it sounds ridiculous, but I never missed a day of work. Like I remember getting into trouble and like having shenanigans along the way with like personal shenanigans, and still never missing work. Is like almost being obsessed to the point of those plants. It was so weird. But during that time, we tested highest in the state for potency, and it was back in the day when there was one lab, and they would come in and take your samples, and you would pay $1,000 per strain to have these things tested. And it was more to give you a one up. It wasn't required. It was just to be able to advertise like in your dispensary that you actually had this tested, that you actually paid for this, and things like that. And so they wouldn't like announce it. It wasn't like a high times competition by any means. Is they would email you back and like send in the highest results next to you. And like at the time, we held the record for 2 years as I was their head grower, and we placed in multiple cups. And in the Rooster Connoisseur Cup, we placed 3 times that year. And like it was a blind competition. Like it was really cool to see.
And that's in Boulder, Colorado, right?
Yes, exactly.
Just for everybody that they can know.
Yeah, I love that. It's like it was such a tight community back then, and like honestly, everybody was growing beautiful product back then. I remember working with 14ers and the greenest green on like the wholesale side is we used to wholesale them specific strains. Like it wasn't the same that people I think look at wholesale now. Is like it was more to fill in each other's libraries because the grows were only 4,000, 5,000 square foot, which was huge back then. That was when, it was almost like super illegal.
Right.
It's like everybody was kind of rebelling out with these business licenses, but there was no MED. There was no, until 2012, 2013 is when they developed. But
Yeah, it was good times back in the day. It was good times just experiencing cups, period. Like, that was in my opinion, what was really moving the cannabis scene was having people get together, try product, see what's good, what's not good, see if like there's hype just behind someone's name or if they really have the fire, like
yeah,
it was a good place to meet people as well.
you're absolutely right. And like, I remember the cure times, like, and the flush times. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but everybody valued this so much. I remember we used to harvest our room at headquarters by plant. Like, instead of now, you could never do it with just metric and testing and all this shit. But like, we used to do it by plant. So like, we would grow trees. Like, the plants would actually grow for like 9 months or so before they were actually harvested. Between veg and flower, but like, so they'd be more like trees, and we would take them out as they were fully finished. Like, so we'd only harvest like 2 or 3 plants a day, say, but it was almost, Monday through Friday that we did this, and we would cure it for like 3 or 4 months, which sounds like over the top, but we did full plant hang, like, and breakdown where we would put them in, your little jars. And I don't know. I felt like there was so many other people though doing the same thing back then. Like maybe just in Boulder, I will say we were kind of spoiled by
Yeah.
that scene.
Yeah, it's more bougie, more, upper echelon.
Yeah, and it was so like clicky, or I guess the numbers were so small as to the involvement in the industry, and like you said, the cups and all these other competitions where I feel like a lot more respected, and like you respected the people you were competing against a lot differently, I think, than now.
Yeah. No, it was cool too to be in the Denver scene and then know that there were other places like in Boulder that had fire, like Greenest Green, 710 Labs, like Green Dot.
Yeah.
I remember the Green Dream was a huge shop up in Gun Barrel. So I mean, there was some fire, coming out of that area for sure.
Yes.
Because I remember Top Shelf Extracts used to work with some of the material from Green Dream, and it was amazing. So it was cool to have that little, like, it's like a rivalry, between the Denver, Boulder. You'd have your people in the Springs. Everybody kind of thought that they had the best product, so it was cool, like, to get everybody and meet, do the thing.
And like play nice together.
Kind of play nice, yeah. And then secretly just turn around and be like, yeah, that was kind of trash.
It's so true.
No.
That's funny. Yeah, I think that at that time, like, it would, like I said, it was so small, but I think that like after recreational went into like the retail side, I think it was 2014 January 1st.
I can't remember.
It was such a fucking nightmare. I remember like automatically like the quality of weed just tanking in this state.
Yeah, I can't I still remember working for the clinic at that point, but I can't really remember, which sucks because like I've been in cannabis for over 10 years, so I don't know. Some of it runs together at
Absolutely.
some point. I remember it becoming legal, and I don't know, like it's one of those things that I didn't really notice a change per se, like it working in cannabis.
Really?
Probably because I wasn't affected as like an owner. I wasn't affected with like licensing and cost of those things, and now switching from yellow plant tags to blue plant tags. You know what I mean? Like at that point, or whatever. So it's like, I probably wasn't affected per se until I was in the grow. Because I
Yeah.
think I was in the retail side, at that point. But, you know, you start to feel the effects of those things, I think, when you're really dealing with like plants, and you're also dealing with like metric and things like that. So
You're absolutely right. I feel like a lot of people, it's weird with the metric thing is, I noticed that like people keep saying this comment like currently that they'll be like the cannabis industry in Colorado isn't regulated. Like you guys are barely regulated. Like you don't understand business because you're barely regulated. And I hear these people say these things constantly. And it's crazy to me because I look at how overly regulated we are as an industry and how it's honestly like almost putting these companies currently out of business because they're going over the top.
that's why we don't have cannabis cups. It's
Exactly.
because it's overregulated. Like there's no way we can't do a cannabis cup. We can't have sweet events where like people are showcasing product like that. Like it's really whack. Or you have to do it at some like consumption lounge,
Yeah.
and then it's
Which
just
who the fuck wants to go sit in a shitty room and pay to bring your own weed and fucking
yeah. No, I mean
no.
you want to make it an experience. You want to have like vendors, and you want to have you don't want you want the whole shebang. You want to be able to sit there with the homies and blaze down and like really feel what's going on, like, see
Yeah.
what the community really wants, you know?
Hmm.
Like, that's the thing. That's the only way we can figure out what the next thing is in cannabis is, you know, seeing what the people say. And we
Absolutely.
did away with that. Now it's like very underground still. Like, you have
Hmm.
to, I mean, you can go to a consumption lounge, but like, most of the time you're chilling with the homies at the house, like,
Yeah.
and you can get a reading of your friends, but that's not necessarily the market,
Well, and
you
I
know.
think one thing about cannabis was like that you did enjoy lighting up a joint on a nice hike or like you are chilling with your friends in a living room where like if everybody I remember when we were all a little bit younger is like when nobody could afford to do anything like we all threw down for like an eighth of weed
Yep,
and like just chilled in the garage all night and like
for sure.
hung out watched whatever.
Smoked when you could.
Exactly. It's
Yeah,
like I feel like it wasn't really designed to be something that you're going into like like a bar. To
right.
me it's like it's not the same type of culture or type of people that want to go sit into.
Yeah, no, and you know it's not that type of atmosphere for sure.
No.
But consumption lounges are cool.
They are cool.
In a
All
sense,
right.
if you go to another state, and you want to kind of like try out new product, and you can hang out with your friends, and
That's a really good, yeah.
or even like there's places in LA, uh, you can go and like eat food and smoke on the patio,
That's nice.
and that's pretty cool.
I think if it was more like that to me, or just like allowed, like Colorado, you can't have the mixture of alcohol or consumption of alcohol in the same space. Which it's not necessarily that I'm trying to promote, going to get shit faced at a bar and being able to smoke wherever. But it would be nice if you could go to a restaurant like that and like you said, like if you could step outside even into like a segregated area.
Yeah,
Like I think it would be nice though to have those options when you're already in like a setting where you're doing some other activity. Like it's like I don't want to go hide in my car. I don't want to go, you know.
yeah,
I feel like it's got to be more reasonable than there.
for sure. So let's get back on track here,
All right,
because
all
we get
right.
off. Yeah,
Yep.
we get off.
Hmm.
Uh, you worked at Rare Dankness, right?
Oh yeah, the good rare dankness days.
The House of Dankness, actually.
How's the dankness? Yeah, you're right.
The House of
That was
Pain.
pretty rude of
Yeah.
me. Yeah, the house of pain
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, yeah. No, no disrespect.
Oh no, we love Scott over here. Um, I feel like rare dankness was such a different time in my life because I remember having so many other jobs in cannabis prior to there that it wasn't that I wasn't like vested into them, but like I really wanted to work with large scale and in that like 2015 or so is like there wasn't a lot of grows that were exceeding 30,000 square foot. And I'm not saying that those aren't really large, and that's not a whole different level back then. But like I had worked at a couple facilities like that, and it was almost like you wanted like the next challenge or something, like you were thirsty for something else. And Scott, I remember them saying that this was going to be the first like largest cannabis indoor cultivation space like this in the world at the time, and that he had this great dream of being able to provide a sterile environment to grow plants as healthy and vigorous as possible, expand his genetics and breeding into like tissue culture, so many cool things, and take care of his staff along the way, which honestly at that point in the cannabis industry, people really felt like they're not being taken care of or valued or appreciated financially. And so he was offering this great opportunity. And I remember as a female, and I hate to say this, but it's a part of the journey for sure, is they said that they were hiring from the top like 10 in the world of like these cultivators. And I had like a strong resume as far as like a couple things that like kind of like let you stand out, I guess, if you will. But like at the same time, I knew I was like a female. I knew I was 23 years old when I was applying for that job. Like, it was, yeah, it was really intimidating, I guess, to be taken seriously. And I went through that process of, they had us like take tests and things. Like people don't understand how like challenging it actually was, is like giving you tests on like, botany, I guess. And like, it sounds ridiculous, but like these questions were very like, had nothing to do with cannabis, and like would ask about different chemical compounds being mixed together and their chemical reactions. And there was just like a lot of layers to this, this test to even get you in the door to be able to apply. And, I probably went to 30 different interviews, or like the process was like 30 different, communications back and forth before that. And I remember I was actually so they took from the top 2,500 growers in the world, like I said, is and they went down to the top 10, and then they went to the top 5, and there was 3 of us hired out of that top 5, and there was one other head grower that was hired with me, but I was their first hire, and I was their first female like head grower ever hired by Rare Dankness, and it was their biggest facility at the time. And I was hired as their head of compliance as well.
Do they have multiple facilities now?
So he actually is it's hard with what he does out of the country. Like I don't know as far as that. Right. Maybe he does. But as far as the United States, I don't believe so. Denver? Yeah, and it's strange, but he's no longer the owner of his facility now. He just sold this year, and it's crazy to have watched this journey and like kind of evolved. Like I remember planting the first seeds there, and like being with Rugburn and Scott, and like having this really intimate squad in the beginning. And like I think to see that he sold is like, I really respect and admire Scott so much for what he's accomplished. And like it was such a big challenge for anybody to not only acquire that type of capital, but do a build out as phenomenal as he did. And like I don't know, there wasn't a lot of forgiveness. It sounds ridiculous, but like having a hydro set up on that type of scale, and like it was really impressive. But to see no matter why he sold or why he chose to step away, or it was kind of like mixed feelings as I went there. But like, to be honest, like the quality seems like it's in a different space now, and like a lot of his like signature strains are no longer there.
Okay. At that time, what was your favorite thing that you guys? I mean, it could have been that you grew or that you like to smoke, but your number one.
Definitely Moonshine Haze. I really appreciate the Ghost Train Haze and a lot of his other goodies, but Moonshine has always been my favorite.
Nice.
Do you have any of Rare Dankness' strains that you like?
To be honest with you, I have not smoked that many.
Dang.
I know in concentrate form, a long time ago when Terpex came to Colorado, they were running some type of like Rare Dankness. like it was a rare darkness or
I love the rare darkness.
something like that. And I don't know if it was a cross. I can't really remember, but I just remember that that was a thing that they were really pushing, and that kind of got me more interested in what Rare Dankness was. They had a really cool logo. It's like that skunk or whatever it
skunk
is.
was so
Yeah.
cool.
So, I mean, it's a really cool cool scene, and I want to say they had some stuff at River Rock a long time ago. I want to say, I don't know.
Scott used to be their head grower before Rare Dankness, actually, at River Rock back in the day.
Yeah, so I remember, something to that effect about them. But honestly, I hadn't tried too much. I know they have like a Scott's OG or something like that.
The Commerce City Kush.
Something to that effect.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of respect for them because I know that they've done a lot of things in cannabis. So whatever his next venture is, whatever he decides to do, I think it's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So where'd you go after, like
the Dankness?
Yeah, your next move, your big move.
So I believe it was Harmony Extracts. It's hard because I've honestly worked with about 150 companies in the last like 12 years or something, but Harmony Extracts was, I think, shortly after that. Yeah, and that was a good experience. I got to oversee 2 facilities that they had, and it was kind of cool, like to do the fresh frozen thing and like to get into the hash side.
Yeah.
More and just for experience, honestly, and just
You're growing for hash at that point.
Yeah.
Definitely, especially with Harmony, and all those companies that were doing a lot of BHO.
What was some other of the like bougie or connoisseur?
Great. As far as like flower or extract.
Extract. Like at that.
Green Dot was crushing it still. I mean, they were crushing it. Concentrated Remedies was crushing it. Viola was crushing it. Man, I'm trying to think. There were a few companies those were
you're right.
Those were some legal companies that were crushing it.
Wasn't the clinics line called something else?
You know what? Even Mahatma actually made a comeback. They got some really good extract artists over there, and they were crushing it. So one guy from the clinic went over there, crushing it. Now he's with Green Dot.
Dang.
And another guy was working. He kind of like taught them all how to make the diamonds, which was really cool.
Ooh.
I don't want to like shout him out without having to get the blessing or anything, but I don't want to, but man,
nice.
He was making some fire, and I know that on the black market side, TNT was crushing.
Oh my gosh.
Crushing the game.
You couldn't go on Instagram without that being some.
Yeah, and he was a personality too, so it was really cool. And I know he's still making fire, and that the whole squad. But that really kind of set the tone for like people had to have fire diamonds.
Yeah.
At that point, and like I know a bunch of people were making them, but were they really really good diamonds? But so that's the thing, and not very many people are smoking diamonds anymore. I think the game is solventless, so
You're right.
And I had to make my transition from the dark side, to the Jedi.
I feel like that Percy Rosin.
Oh, the Percy Rosin. Yeah.
Once you go there.
Yeah. Once you go there, you don't go back. Any of the good. The Laser Cat's got the Ultra Primo rosin batter, and there's some companies out there right now making the fire.
You're right.
It's few and far between, I will say, that you will find really 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 good hash, but there is decent hash out there to smoke, for sure. I think it's all very strain dependent, like but it's that's the thing, is that's the wave really. It's like finding the thing that's going to translate into hash that grows well.
You're
Because
right.
no grower is going to want to grow something that doesn't grow well, and then it's not yielding well in hash, and like it's it's a whole mix. You know, right now you see a lot of the same strains, because like people have to get stuff that produces in hash because flower ain't selling well.
We were talking about that. Is there there's a lot of good strains out there, don't get me wrong, but you see a lot of the, like, for instance, straw guava right now. It's one of my favorite strains to grow. I do have the cut. I love her. But you're
Played out.
seeing everything with straw guava. Yeah, and like even papaya solo, like papaya.
Anything papaya played out.
Yeah, like
I'm
we
sorry.
we knew the person that brought papaya to Colorado in '97, and like I feel like it's crazy now to see that these beautiful strains, like you said, have just been like over. Like, okay,
I mean, it's just a lot of the same old, you know.
Mhm.
A lot of trop.
A lot of trop. I
Uh,
used to love her so much.
yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that anything really fire probably won't wash well.
Yeah, that's
You
yeah.
know, any OG, any gelato, any,
The
I,
yields.
yeah, they're just not. They're not there. I mean, it
Kosher Kush has been like one of my favorite strains of all time.
will not yield in
Yeah,
hash.
they're
No.
just
GMO though, for
crazy.
whatever reason, that chems sometimes will really yield well. It's interesting. You know, I'm sure like a sour D or, you know, I imagine like this Death Coast from Laser Cat, what a Death Star and East Coast sour diesel.
Oh
So
my
at that
gosh.
at that point, like, you know, they found something that's working as far as a yielder, you know, or else they wouldn't probably produce it.
You're right.
Um, but yeah, no, I mean that's the name of the game, you know. It's just trying to find something fire. Like, what's the next thing? And that's the wave is, you know, I hate to say it, it's candy gas. Like you have to
Straight
have
up.
some candy and gas. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing. That's
Dang.
why Skittles is so fire. It's
Skittles is so
that
good
candy, you know. And some batches will come out with a little, you know, gassy side, you know. But that's, you know, why Runts is so popular. It's just like a bag of candy.
I think all those strains, or both of those strains, though, they're so distinctive and they're so, I mean, they're so delicious that
Oh,
it's just hard.
that's the move right now is,
You're
you
right.
know, those strains.
That's all my clients want to flower. Like they don't want to flower anything else.
Yep, the Z, you know, anything with Z, anything with that profile, uh, you know, it just is unfortunate because there are not very many companies that can get top dollar for flower right now.
You're
You
right.
know, you have to have really good branding to be able to get that price. And you have to have a really good product. That's the name of the game too. It's not just branding,
Yeah.
because branding plays a lot into it, but you have to have a fire product. You have to have the white ash. Like that is a thing. Like it has to
Absolutely.
burn clean.
I think that's what's really unfortunate though for these guys out there is like a lot of people are combating, like, you know how everybody's like, I only smoke the best and I only have the best in our scene.
Oh yeah.
Is
And everybody's smoking boof.
yeah,
Like
straight
that's the problem.
up.
That's the problem.
And it's almost like too, like I've seen a lot of these organic growers getting ate up next to salt growers, just because of the aesthetics though of the plant. Like, you know how like, I don't know, some organic cannabis, honestly, like whether it's flushing differently and things like that, is like it will almost have like a little bit darker hue, you know, where the trichomes won't get as defined, I think, in certain cases. I don't know.
Hey, you got to tell me because I'm not a grower. I will come out and say that I am not a grower. I know good weed and I know how to smoke good weed and
It's a great.
I just know what's fire. That's my thing, you know.
Well, you know, I love hydro and I love salts. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but I will say that quality is has always been my only goal, and I do grow organic as well. But yeah, I appreciate them both, but I think that they aesthetically offer different things. Like honestly, is I think a lot of hydro weed can like almost play the part better. Like, and I hate to say that, but like in a photo or something like that, versus a lot of, it's almost like I'm not gonna say outdoor because they're nothing alike, but like you know how like outdoor will sometimes taste phenomenal, but it will just look awful, or it'll be really fluffy. It'll never get that like same density. Is I don't know. I just feel like these things have like their own little pros and cons.
Hey, man. I mean, there's a reason why people are paying top dollar for indoor weed. You know what I mean?
It's
Like,
true.
and salts, no salts, like it just needs to be fire. You
That's
know.
what I'm talking about. See, I think more people need to know that is salts aren't like that. I've heard people describe them as like these steroids for plants and all this stuff. It's like it's nothing like that. It's like you can source your salts from organic material. They're just synthesized so that they stay stable in the actual water, so the plant actually uptakes what you're feeding it. And like it's such a different design versus like soil is more like snacking, like the plant is constantly snacking versus hydro and salts, you're typically feeding them breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And they both have the same. This sounds weird. I'm probably gonna get ate up alive for this, but they both offer the same properties as far as like the nutrients, capsulated or not. It's just how it's actually being uptaken by the plant. So I just love to hear you say that because you can grow quality with some of these guys out there like Athena, and I'm just going to dive into them right off the bat. Is I hear a lot of people being like, oh, you use Athena or Front Row. And to be honest, both of those companies are great companies, provide great products.
And you can say this because you actually worked with Way to Grow, right?
Yes, I did. I did work directly for the owner of Way to Grow. It's a great experience.
Best thing about working with Way to Grow.
Getting products manufactured. It was the first time that I got to design things that actually came to life, that I now see in a lot of my clients' grows. It's like Way to Grow's 5-gallon bucket. I actually branded and pushed for that. And the owner was so against me doing this and so against the idea. It took me a year to get it made. And now I see that bucket everywhere. And a woman's clothing line is like they didn't really have a lot of female attire like with Way to Grow, just as a brand is they hand out all these goodies for all these gentlemen. But I was like, all these guys, even if their girls don't grow, like they want to wear this stuff and they want to be a part of their man's like little project. And so I got to design a couple clothing like pieces.
Nice.
Yeah, and have it branded. But irrigation, I did their commercial irrigation display and diagrams so that you could go in and purchase like almost from like a sushi style menu is like where you could build your irrigation a lot easier and understand how the parts fit together. And if you wanted to use a product like Floraflex, exactly what was needed with that versus if you wanted to use Netafim or there's plenty of other companies that we could list off, but it was really trying to push irrigation and showing people like kind of removing the intimidation factor of it. Yeah, it was a fun one though.
Fun little gig.
Fun little gig for sure.
What do you think you have planned kind of for the future?
So we got a lot of stuff coming up.
First off, the brand Treat.
Yeah, I wish I could
Can you give a backstory on that and then kind of go into what the next thing is that you're going to be getting into?
Thank you so much. Treat is actually my middle name. And I've always wanted to consume and create a product that it is just quality and like having the best and like my customers or consumers like actually feeling like it's a treat all the way around, from customer service or the product itself. And I don't know, I really want anything that I create or am a part of to be something that you really value and feel valued for valuing.
Right.
And really treating yourself to, yeah.
Treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
That's it. So what's your plans for the future?
So, I'm going to be doing a lot of small batch flour and, extending not just the cure times, but like my actual flower times and running these specific strains that I think need, 13, 14, 15 weeks, sometimes longer. But I really want to go back to that small batch kind of mindset. And offer both like products as well as like I want to do hydro on one side and then do another side with soil only. And just, as organic as I possibly can be. And I think, yeah, clothing line, it sounds ridiculous, but there's some of these things that I want to slowly release that I think will be exciting though, watching them unfold. Like, maybe it starts with just one or two little things, but
Nice. That's how Cookie started. With hoodies. Like so, anything is possible. That turned into a weed empire. So
yeah.
you know.
Well, I want people to be able to find you out there and find me and be able to listen to us and support us and go along this journey with us. Cause I know in the future podcasts, like, or future shows, sorry, is like, I would like for us to really educate and talk about things that,
I will educate you as best as I can. And we may have to pull people in, call people in,
we might
have
have to
people
do
come
stuff.
through, so that they can actually give a story on what happened, or the whole thing, from the horse's mouth type of deal.
And with that being said, sorry to, but with breeding, we've got a lot of breeding projects coming up in this next year and a lot of good partnerships. That I think these people might just be sneaking in sometimes, that we could expand on this. But I
Yeah,
think this next year there'll be a lot of seeds, honestly.
good.
A lot of good stuff to come.
That's good.
Well, I think we should take a dab
Yeah,
before we, maybe
I'll go back to back.
let's do this.
Jeez.
Tyler, how can people find you?
They can find me on Insta, the old
The gram.
Instagram, OG Tyler 303. Just come find me. I'm also trying to just figure out like who has the best flower in the state.
Yeah, we need to know.
Because I'm on the search. Like I think that's the only way you can get better, or know more in cannabis. Really get how can you really get better in cannabis? But no, I mean like that's the only way you can like be informative about like what's going on, or like if you're really in it, like be in it. You know what I mean? Like
All of it.
try other things, and like so if somebody has like fire, like or knows of where the fire is, just like let us know, hit us in the DM,
Please.
like because we wanna know what's good. Like if there's people doing seed breeding, or like selecting phenos of certain things that they think is gonna be fire, like, that's how like the poppin' things, get out. Like, they need exposure, and I want to know as a cannabis consumer also like what's the best,
I'm right there with you. Like, it's hard because we've been exposed to these great brands that have remained consistent, but sometimes it slips through the cracks. These other hidden gems. We need to know.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the only way. You have to stay on it. You have to, be with the people, and that's where we get, where we've been removed for the last few years, as far as like being able to have these major events so people could see everybody's product.
Yes.
So it's like we have to kind of bring it to life. Like bring all this stuff like out to the people.
I love that.
In my opinion.
I think it's great that you say that. Well, I think we should wrap it up for the evening.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Well, I hope you guys find us on the gram. Search for Jaybird_JLo. And
if you have any people also in mind that you feel like is a good cannabis person to have on the show, or get information from, or their stories, let us know too, so we can try to reach out to these people and become familiar with their story.
And show names. I'm glad that you brought that up, because show names, we need potential suggestions for the show. we have some ideas. We could keep it as treat, but we also think there's some.
How about you guys let us know?
Yeah.
You let us know what you think. You know, what would be a good like weed podcast name? You know, because
Yeah.
we're kind of just rolling with it.
We're doing it.
Yeah. Don't give them any ideas, but you know, let them kind of.
I think we should keep them to ourselves.
Yeah.
Free bird on.
Yeah. So you know,
All right.
make it happen.
Well, Tyler, do you have any last words after this beautiful dab?
No, it kind of was cold though, so that's what happens in life.
I know. I
You just
feel
get the
you.
taste it to wait, wasted to taste it, so whatever that is, you know.
I feel you. Well, everybody, peace and love, and I hope you have a beautiful week.
Peace and love.